In the far reaches of Eastern Europe, there's a mysterious land frozen in time, where steep gorges cut through ancient mountains, and the forests teem with wild creatures. A place where humans live by tradition and share the land with giants. For the animals hard at work raising their families, summer is a time to feast on the fruits of the forest before the arrival of the bitter winter ahead. It's May in the Carpathian Mountains, Romania. Deep in the forest, a giant is roaming the rocky slopes. A female brown bear, and she's not alone. Her two young cubs stick close to her side. Just 4 months old, they're totally dependent on their mother. The cubs will suckle from her until they're at least 1.5 years old. To provide enough milk, she needs to eat an incredible 20,000 calories a day. As an omnivore, plants account for up to 85% of her diet. She gets her protein from carrion and insects. She'll even hunt if she needs to. For now, there are plenty of beetle grubs to be found in the trunk of a dead tree. The cubs will stay with their mother until they're over 18 months old, learning the ways of the forest. For this bear family, the race is on to fatten up. When winter arrives, their metabolism will slow down, and they'll spend most of their time in a deep slumber. So the more they can eat now, the better their chances of survival. The Carpathian Mountains cut through 7 countries in Europe, stretching east to west across 930 miles of rugged terrain. They're home to some of Europe's last remaining pristine forests. A wild refuge on a crowded continent. One species here is at the heart of the forest life cycle. A beech tree, over 200 years old, soaring 130 feet into the canopy. The hard wood of its trunk is the perfect spot for a black woodpecker to bore out a nest and raise her young. High enough to stay out of harm's way from opportunist hunters. She feeds them with wood beetle larvae caught in the surrounding canopy. On the tips of the tree's branches, hundreds of beech nuts are ripening. They're packed with calories, and in the autumn will be a highly prized food for many animals in the forest, including the sounders of wild boar that raise their families on the forest floor below. But the bounty produced by the beech trees varies dramatically each year, depending on how warm the weather is. When the nuts ripen in autumn, it'll be a time of feast or famine, impacting the lives of the animals that live here. Beech trees used to exist only at high altitude in a few isolated regions. But since the end of the last ice age, 11,000 years ago, they've extended their range through the Carpathians and across Europe. These ancient forests provide the perfect cover for an ambush hunter. The Eurasian lynx. It's so secretive, it's rarely seen. The purpose of her distinctive ear tufts is not yet understood, but they're the hallmark of this solitary species. This female does her best to avoid encounters with her own kind. She leaves a clear message that this territory is taken, scratching a tree trunk as a calling card. She moves stealthily to track down her prey. Her webbed paws spread out, reducing noise as she pads through the leaf litter. Her incredible vision means she can spot a mouse from 250 feet away. Like all cats, she has a mirrored layer of tissue in the back of her eyes. It reflects light through her retina, activating the receptors for a second time. It helps her hunt in the shadows and low light. She's powerful enough to take down an animal up to 4 times her size. Deer, birds, and rabbits are all on her menu, if she can catch them. She's a pouncer, not a sprinter. Failing to take her quarry by surprise, she'll have to try elsewhere. But right now, she's got other important business. She's heading back to her den to check up on some special new arrivals. A pair of 3-week-old kittens. These two are a valuable addition to the lynx population, more precious than she'll ever know. There are only around 2,000 lynx left in Romania. They're illegally hunted for their thick winter pelts. Born blind and helpless, these kittens' eyes are now open. She nurses them every few hours with protein-rich milk. As she tends to the pair, she purrs, a kind of contact call to signal all is well in the world. The kittens completely depend on their mother and will stay close to her side until they're 10 months old. Without her, they won't survive their first winter. For one animal roaming these mountains, an encounter with a lynx could be a matter of life or death. The chamois is a close relative of sheep, goats, and ibex. They are perfectly adapted for life on these precipitous slopes. And in the summer months, they head as high as they can, living above 6,500 feet. Padded elastic hooves give them extra grip on uneven and slippery ground, making them incredibly sure-footed. Their long hind legs act as powerful springs to help them climb. They can even leap 6 feet into the air from a standstill. Lynx and wolves could attack if they let their guard down. So they must be able to scramble to safety. Out on the exposed slopes, there are few places to hide, so they never stray far from the safety of the steepest cliffs. But it's humans that pose the greatest threat to their existence. For centuries, people have killed chamois for leather and meat. Although European laws strictly enforce a hunting quota, today poaching continues to place this species under pressure. It's June, and in the valleys the summer heat is building. For the Romanian communities that live in the Carpathians, life here has changed little over the centuries. Dry weather means the hay harvest is now in full swing. The traditionally managed meadows are still farmed by hand. A way of life that has protected an astonishing array of insects. More than 35,000 species of invertebrates have been documented here, providing a rich food source for birds and small mammals, which keeps the entire food chain healthy. With the wildflowers in full bloom, the honeybees are hard at work in the meadows. Every day, worker bees set out in search of nectar. Each bee can visit up to 100 flowers on a single trip. They use their long proboscis to suck up the nectar and ferry it back to the nest in a special organ called the honey stomach. By collecting pollen on their bodies, they transfer it between the flowers, which helps plants reproduce. For this local artisan, the bees are helping to keep another tradition alive. He's a beekeeper, selling his honey direct from a mobile van that's also home to his domestic bees. In Romania, the art of keeping bees is steeped in history. The earliest reference to the abundance of bees in this area can be traced back to 440 BC and the writings of Herodotus. In the late 18th century, the first guide to local beekeeping was published. Today, these beehives can be set up anywhere. He travels to the surrounding meadows and forests, which provide his colony with all the nectar they need. Inside the hives, the dedicated worker bees are busy passing the nectar to the mouths of other house bees. As they chew, an enzyme mixes with the nectar until it turns into honey, which they store in hexagonal cells. Romania is home to over 1 million colonies of domestic bees and produces around 35,000 tons of honey a year. The beekeeper sells most of what he produces, but leaves enough behind to keep the hungry hives fed. For another forest resident, the promise of honey can prove far too tempting. Bears have been known to raid beehives if they spot the opportunity. So this beekeeper has come up with a plan that allows him to kick back and relax while he waits for his customers. Cans strung around his mobile honey factory are his own bear early warning system. Wild and domestic honeybees play a vital role in keeping the meadows and forests healthy. In the rivers, another industrious resident is setting out for a hard day at work. A Eurasian beaver. Along with her mate, she's busy carrying out essential repairs to their family lodge, built on a riverbank. They use their front feet to collect mud and their jaws to carry timber. But perhaps their most important tools are their unique teeth, which continue to grow throughout their lives. A rust-colored coating of iron on the front of their incisors makes them extremely tough, while the inner surface on the back of the teeth is made from softer dentine, which wears down more quickly. So the teeth sharpen into a wedge-shaped blade, longer in the front, shorter at the back. Their powerful lower jaw muscles help them to gnaw through hard wood. For centuries, beavers were ruthlessly exploited for their pelts. Their nickname was brown gold. By the 1900s, populations in Europe and Asia had all been wiped out, with only around 1,200 remaining. But today they've made a remarkable comeback thanks to significant conservation efforts. With their paddle-like tails, webbed feet and waterproof fur, they're well equipped to thrive in this watery world. Beavers pair for life, and these two are raising the next generation in the safety of their lodge. The only way to access their front door is through an underwater tunnel. Inside, it's warm and dry. The perfect secret hideaway from the outside world. The fortified walls of their lodge protect them from wolves and bears. The parents share the responsibility of looking after their young. They have their work cut out keeping their home waterproof and their babies well fed. Beavers are the architects of this ecosystem and play an ancient role in keeping the landscape healthy. Their dams filter out silt and sediment downstream and create small wetlands which help to prevent drought and flood. And all the extra pruning stimulates trees and bushes to grow back stronger the following year. The ponds that form behind a beaver dam are home to a thriving array of aquatic residents. This is the perfect hunting ground for a fire-bellied toad. At only around 2 inches long, she may be small, but she can pack a potentially lethal punch. Unlike most amphibians, she's active during the day, and that could make her an easy target for a heron. But this toad has a secret weapon to help protect her. She's able to secrete a toxin from the hundreds of tiny pores on her body. And the bright yellow warning on her belly lets would-be predators know it's best not to bite. Summer means toad courtship season is in full swing. And in a pond close by, this male toad is on the lookout for love. To attract a mate to join him in the water, he puffs up with air like a balloon and floats. With his body flattened, he pushes air back and forth between his lungs and a special vocal sac, producing his signature mating call. It's hard work. He serenades around the clock, determined to call in a mate. There are as many as 10 males for every female, so he needs to pull out all the stops to stand out from the crowd. But back on land, the female isn't impressed with his wooing efforts. Something else has caught her eye. Her next meal. For many species in the Carpathians, summer is the time when love comes calling. But the mating season isn't always quite so romantic. Instead, it can spell danger. On the forest edge, a mother bear is out foraging with her cubs. It's July, and over the summer their milk intake has increased fourfold. It's now at its peak. On top of that, they're adding solid food. This rotten tree trunk is the perfect spot to dig out an easy snack. Ants. Mom's strong enough to kill a deer, but instead she uses her strength to turn over heavy rocks and logs. The cubs watch their mother closely. They have their first set of chewing teeth and are busy learning the tricks of the trade. Practice makes perfect. With dusk approaching, a noise suddenly catches her attention. She scans the forest with her excellent eyesight and spots a marauder. A male bear in his prime has picked up her scent. He weighs in at almost twice her size, and he could be big trouble for her youngsters. If a male bear finds a mother with young cubs, he may try to kill them, as this will trigger the female to come back into estrus, ready to mate. Only 50% of cubs make it to their first birthday, in part because of encounters like this. Bear mothers are fiercely protective when facing a male. She stands her ground. It works. He decides the risk of a confrontation isn't worth it. Tonight, the cubs are safe. For lynx, the biggest threat doesn't come from their own kind. It comes from packs of wolves. So this mother has to keep a low profile as she raises her young. Her kittens are nearly 2 months old. They have tripled in weight and are now strong enough to accompany their mother on short trips away from their den. It's a chance to learn some important life lessons. Their mother is handing over the spoils of her hunt. A wood pigeon. It won't provide many calories, but as the kittens play with the carcass and work out how to eat it, it helps them hone their predatory skills. The kittens learn through observation, and as they grow, will begin to follow their mother on hunting expeditions. The ultimate goal will be to bring down a prize food: deer. In the forest, a roe deer browses the leaves of a young sapling. It's a male, standing at just over 2 feet tall. He's solitary and commands his own territory. He will defend it from other males if they get too close. These small deer roam from Spain to Iran and as far north as Scandinavia. They're abundant in the Carpathians. They browse from saplings and branches, but this means they can cause tree damage. Lynx play an important part in controlling their numbers, which in turn helps to limit the impact of the deer on the forest. On the edge of a clearing, a female has recently given birth. Her vulnerable fawn is hidden in the grass close by while she eats. A spotted coat helps keep her baby camouflaged from predators. She'll nurse her fawn until it's around 4 months old, and then he'll have to fend for himself. By August, the crops are ripening in the fields. And a tiny resident is making the most of it. This Eurasian harvest mouse weighs only 1/5 of an ounce, about as light as a marshmallow. She's a master acrobat and uses her prehensile tail as a 5th limb, a safety line to help her balance as she moves between the tall stems, searching for seeds and insects. But she can never let her guard down. These fields are a hunting ground for barn owls. If she hears one, her only line of defense is to freeze. Her broad feet are adapted specifically for climbing. A large opposable toe on the outside of her hind paws allows her to grip onto stems, while she uses her front feet to eat. And now her energy needs are higher than ever. She has 3 hungry newborn mouths waiting to suckle. Her carefully woven nest is suspended high in the grass. Her babies have no fur and are highly susceptible to the cold, relying on the shelter of their home for safety and warmth. They'll stay here for another 2 weeks before facing the dangerous world outside. As the days start to grow shorter, the bears spend longer foraging, around 16 hours a day. The mother is searching for a special treat. She's heard the buzzing of bees, and where there are bees, there's honey. But it's not just the honey they're after. She'll also eat the bees and the larvae inside the nest, which provide valuable protein. Over the coming months, food for the bears will become increasingly scarce. So they make the most of this meal. Their thick fur and rough tongues protect them from the worst of the stings. And the reward is worth a little pain. In the Carpathians, winter temperatures can plummet to -4 degrees Fahrenheit. When the bears begin their winter slumber, they won't hunt or eat for months. And they could die from starvation if they don't store enough body fat beforehand. In the last days of summer, the drive to find extra food is so strong, the bears will start to take bigger risks. And it can bring them into conflict with local villagers. And for the shepherds that graze their flocks on the surrounding slopes, bear encounters are part of everyday life. If they spot an opportunity, a bear will snatch a sheep. The shepherds rely on their huge guard dogs to protect their animals, and occasionally their own lives. It's not unheard of for bears to attack a shepherd trying to defend his flock. The lynx kittens are now 4 months old and busy exploring their surroundings and testing sibling rivalries. But this is more than just fun and games. Playtime is a chance to practice their pouncing and stalking and perfect their climbing. Trees are a useful vantage point from which to spot prey, even if going up proves a lot easier than coming back down. Today, their mother's exceptional hunting skills have hit the jackpot. This roe deer will provide the family with meat for days, if the kittens can work out how to tackle the tough carcass. Their claws help them to grip, but their adult teeth have only just started to emerge. They don't yet have the canines they need to rip the skin open, or their carnassial teeth to shear off large chunks of meat. But they do their best at tucking in. For now, they'll continue to supplement their diet with their mother's milk. But by the end of the winter, these two kittens will need to be proficient hunters if they're to survive on their own. Change is in the air. It's autumn. With the arrival of shorter days and colder weather, the forests are ablaze with colour. It's time for the beech trees to unleash their precious bounty. When the nuts are ripe, they drop to the ground. And this year, the trees have simultaneously produced a bumper crop. Called a mast year, the result is an incredible 100,000 times more nuts than a typical year. A mast season only happens every 5 to 8 years after a very warm summer. the residents of the forest reap the benefits. Wild boar and bears gobble up the crop. Beech nuts pack a nutritional punch, double the amount of calories and protein compared to acorns, another staple. Everyone shares in the abundance, but in the poorer intervening years, they'll be forced to compete for less energy-rich foods. Deep underground, new life is stirring. Fungi are erupting from the damp forest floor. While the main show appears to be above the ground, the really hard work is happening below. Vast networks of fungal threads, called the mycelium, are carrying out an essential service under the forest floor. The fungi release enzymes to break down decomposing leaves, seeds, and rotten wood, releasing the nutrients such as nitrogen and phosphorus into the soil. This helps transfer these nutrients back to the tree roots. It's a mutually beneficial arrangement. In return, the fungi receive sugars from the dead plant matter they digest, as they can't make their own. When the cold weather arrives, one animal does have the option of moving indoors. A barn owl is searching for new hunting grounds. Like most owls, he can't store very much body fat. Even with his thick feathers, he's poorly insulated and prone to becoming waterlogged. It means during severe weather, he's vulnerable to starvation. So hunting indoors protects him from the elements. And farm buildings never fail to attract rats and mice. His super senses make him a master hunter, indoors or out. Highly sensitive hearing means he can even find prey in the dark. One of his ears is set higher than the other. The left captures sounds from below, while the right focuses on sounds from above, helping him home in on the faintest noise. He has a target in his sights. A house mouse. He can see well in a gloomy barn, with eyes twice as sensitive to light as human eyes. But he can't move his eyes left or right. So instead, he bobs his head to help him judge the distance and position of prey. It's called triangulation and makes him highly sensitive to the tiniest of movements. This mouse must freeze if he's to stand a chance. But he's yet to notice anything out of the ordinary. Barn owls need to eat 3 or 4 mice a day, and he's picked the right place to do it. The Lynx kittens are now nearly 6 months old and have passed a milestone. Under the nurturing eye of their mother, they've mastered the skills they'll need to survive the cold weather ahead. Although they're not yet ready to tackle a deer alone, they're catching rabbits and rodents by themselves and are close to fully weaned. In just 4 months' time, they'll be independent. And at the end of winter, will leave the safety of their mother's side to head into the big, wide world. Unlike the lynx, the bear cubs, now 6 months old, will continue to suckle from their mother over the next year. As their diet expands, she'll provide them with less and less milk. But the continued nursing will reinforce their strong family bond. Staying close to their mother is their best chance of protection until they're big enough to survive on their own. When she's ready to mate again, she'll simply walk away and leave them to fend for themselves. For now, thanks to her devotion and care, the cubs have built up enough fat reserves to survive the freezing temperatures ahead. The wilderness of the Carpathians is a haven on a crowded continent. A land where humans are in touch with nature and her seasons. Where some of Europe's rarest creatures can roam free. Safe in the shadow of these rugged peaks. In the far reaches of Eastern Europe, there's a mysterious land where time has stood still and mythical creatures roam wild. A place where humans still pay heed to the beasts of the forest. Especially one. The European wolf has long inspired legend, admiration, fear, and hatred. Deep in the Carpathian Mountains, its stronghold remains. It's May. Hidden in a forest in the heart of Romania, new life is stirring. These tiny wolf pups are taking their first tentative steps outside of their den into the big wide world. Born blind, deaf, and barely able to crawl, at 3 weeks old, their eyes are now fully open, and they're busy finding their feet. These hungry mouths need to nurse from their mother at least 5 times a day. The pup's father stays close by. These parents are the alphas of their pack, the only adults to breed. They lead a tight-knit pack with offspring from previous years and a few unrelated individuals that have joined from elsewhere. For now, the mother's duty is here at the den, keeping a watch over her litter, making sure her young charges don't stray too far. As they explore their new surroundings, a pup can quickly wander off and get into trouble. It's a dangerous world out there. Fewer than half the wolf pups born in the Carpathians survive to adulthood. They may be destined to be top predators, but there are other animals in this forest that can kill them. While slightly smaller than a wolf, this female Eurasian lynx is an exceptionally powerful cat. She can kill prey 4 times her own size. And unlike wolves, she hunts alone. She can only sprint for short distances, so she ambushes her prey from close range. Lynx have been known to kill entire wolf litters if they're left unguarded. Lucky for the pups, she's already fed on a roe deer hind. It will keep her occupied and well-fed for days to come. There's room enough for this elusive cat and her wolf rivals amongst these craggy peaks and dense forests. The Carpathian Mountains cut through 7 countries in Europe, stretching east to west across 930 miles of rugged terrain. It's a rare wilderness refuge on a crowded continent. Wolves have been persecuted the world over. But here, they're making a comeback. The Carpathians hold the 2nd largest population of wolves in Europe. For a wolf, the secret to success is cooperation. Each wolf knowing its place in the family is vital for unity. By working together, the pack will have more success hunting. Wolves use a range of body language to communicate their mood and social status and to test boundaries. A low wagging tail signals this wolf is relaxed. As the pack members greet each other, playful jaw wrestling and gentle muzzle biting shows they share an allegiance. To show how confident he is, this male stands tall. Unlike this wolf, who holds his tail low, crouching down and licking the muzzle of his superior in submission. It's a constant give and take between the timid and the bold. This lower status wolf rolls over, exposing his vulnerable belly to the more dominant pack members, who keep a firm hold. Bites like this seldom do any real damage. But a throat grab makes clear who's in charge. These complex displays help to keep true aggression at bay. It bodes well for the pups. A cohesive pack means they have a greater chance of survival. The wolves share these mountains and forests with another highly social species, one that is also their prey. This wild boar sow is the matriarch of her herd, called a sounder. She gave birth 5 weeks ago, and her piglets are now able to keep up on the daily expeditions through the forest. Their striped coats help keep them camouflaged from predators. Within the sounder, only the matriarch, her daughters, and other closely related females breed. After around a year old, the males are usually evicted from their herd and have to fend for themselves. They'll wander the forest alone or gather in bachelor groups until the breeding season in the winter. The matriarch makes all the group decisions, including where to search for the tastiest food. She leads her herd as far as 7.5 miles a day, rooting for food. The forest provides the family with an extraordinarily diverse diet. They're not fussy. Almost anything is on the menu. Plants, nuts, eggs, insects, amphibians and mammals, including carrion. A strong disc of cartilage on the end of their snout helps them turn over the soil. As they bulldoze across the forest floor, they create newly ploughed ground that's perfect for grass, flowers and saplings to grow. The forest depends on the animals to help it regenerate. In return, it provides everything the animals need to survive. And nowhere is this relationship more evident than with Europe's largest land mammal. The European wood bison, also called a pheasant. It's July, and for this bull, the shade of the forest is a welcome respite from the summer heat. He weighs in at just under a ton and stands over 6 feet tall. Over a century ago, bison were hunted to extinction in the Carpathians. But now a rewilding project is releasing small herds back into their historical home range. For this gamekeeper, the bison are a welcome addition. The Carpathians would be incomplete without them. But he must keep a respectful distance. A startled bull could easily run him down. This male is a king of the forest. His brute strength means he fears little. Bison have few natural enemies, apart from humans. Wolves will attack calves or weak members of the herd. But it's a rare wolf pack that can tackle one of these adults. And if they do try, the herd will mount a defense with horns and hooves. For the wolves, the risk can outweigh the reward. The bull's huge appetite matches his size. He can devour up to 70 pounds of vegetation a day. The flush of summer growth provides him with plenty of fresh leaves. His height means he can reach branches that no other herbivore can. Stripping the fibrous bark from a dead tree makes an easy meal. He will also munch fungi from rotting wood and graze on the tough grasses that other animals leave untouched. But as much as he takes, he's also giving back to the forest. Bison play a crucial role helping to maintain a healthy forest. They've had a huge impact since their return. They are the ultimate, if unwitting, seed dispersers. Their hooves can carry hundreds of trapped seeds across the forest floor. Their fur catches the hooked spines of burrs, which then drop off elsewhere. And the most important part, their dung is packed with new seeds and vital nutrients, including nitrogen, all of which stimulate new growth. It's also the perfect place for flies and beetles to lay their eggs. Although for the bison, there is a downside. In the height of summer, they're plagued by swarms of insects and other parasites. A dust bath provides much-needed relief. It's late afternoon, and close to a stream, a much smaller forest resident finds refuge. This fire salamander is emerging from the water to look for prey in the shade of rocks and plants. He's an amphibian, born in the water with gills. Now, as an adult, he breathes through a fully developed set of lungs. At almost 6 inches long, he could easily be snatched by a bird, snake, or fox. But his vivid yellow markings warn other animals to stay well away. He secretes a brew of neurotoxins from glands behind his eyes and across his back. If ingested, a tiny drop, the weight of a grain of sand, would be enough to kill a human. The toxins block nerve endings. First, there's respiratory failure. Death quickly follows. No animal would take a chance on eating him. Deep in the forest, the wolf pups are now 8 weeks old. With their long legs and large paws, they're starting to look more like adults. They're growing in confidence by the day and will follow the pack up to a mile away from their den. Even now, they're beginning to determine who's top dog. Play is an essential tool to working out the rules. It strengthens their social bonds while also teaching them the perfect strike. The pups are now partially weaned and rely on all the adults to bring them solid food. The demands on the pack to hunt are greater than ever. So the pack sets off, leaving the cubs at a meeting place away from the den. To track down prey, wolves rely on smell over sight. They have 200 million scent receptors in their nose, compared to only 10 million in humans. And the part of their brain devoted to processing scent is 60 times bigger than ours. It reveals an invisible world. They've picked up the scent of wild boar. Wolves can track prey over several days. And once they give chase, they can wear down their quarry until it's exhausted. As they home in, their eyesight takes over. With 250-degree peripheral vision, they can detect even the tiniest of movements. The pack stays upwind and out of sight for as long as possible. They assess the sounder for signs of weakness. A piglet is a much easier target than an adult. To be careful, the piglet's protective mother will always be close by, and her teeth can inflict a serious wound. Silently, the pack fans out using the cover of the forest. But a shift in the wind gives the game away. And there are too many adult boar in this sounder for the wolves to risk giving chase. The pack and their pups will go hungry for now. The success rate of a wolf hunt is low. In some areas, fewer than 1 in 10 end in a kill. They have adapted to this life of feast and famine. Wolves can survive for more than 2 weeks without food if they have to. But with hungry mouths to feed, the pressure is on. For wolves, the lure of domestic animals can prove hard to resist. Wolves compete for space in these mountains with farmers and their flocks. To protect their livestock from being attacked, shepherds turn to man's best friend. Romanian shepherd dogs have guarded livestock for centuries. It's believe they're descended from dogs found in Mesopotamia around 9,000 years ago, about the same time sheep and goats were domesticated. The dogs are extremely hardy, able to brave the unpredictable mountain weather. Before this shepherd can take his flock to pasture, some of the sheep need to be milked. Life here follows the traditional ways, by hand. The milk will be used to make a high-protein cheese, not just for the farmer's family, but also for his dogs. Meat is a luxury here, and this is an economical way to keep his canine team well fed, ready for the hard day's work ahead. This shepherd has known each of his dogs since they were born. They grew up with the flocks they now guard. Modern wolves and dogs diverged from a common wolf ancestor around 27,000 years ago. While wolves evolved to be naturally cautious of humans, dogs are tuned into our every move, and shepherds rely on their pack mentality and cooperative nature to provide protection. They're heading to high pastures in the mountains for the next few days in search of rich summer grazing. But this is when his flock is at its most vulnerable. It's late summer, the prime season for wolf attacks on sheep. And the farmers will kill wolves in retaliation. The effects can be catastrophic. The death of a wolf can cause a pack to break up. Then, as inexperienced and desperate wolves disperse, they're more likely to hunt livestock. Conservationists have worked to bring back the traditional use of guarding dogs as a deterrent. And farmers are being reimbursed for any livestock they lose to prevent wolves being killed. After a long day's climb, night falls across the Carpathians. The sheep are locked up in a mountaintop pen. It's now that the flock is most at risk. Wolves often hunt under cover of darkness. The dogs stay on guard close by. Their extra thick, double-layered coats help to keep them warm. The dogs can smell and hear predators if they approach in the dark, and will bark an early warning if they sense a threat. So far, it's been a good summer. The shepherd hasn't lost a single animal. With his loyal guard dogs keeping their wild relatives at bay, he can sleep soundly. Other than conflict with humans, the biggest danger to wolves is other wolves. And today, the pack is on high alert. They've picked up the scent of rivals encroaching on their territory. If two packs meet each other, it leads to fighting and casualties, a risk to their vulnerable cubs. As the leaders, the alphas round up their family to go on patrol. It's time to let the rival pack know they need to back off. The pups no longer depend on their mother to nurse as frequently, so she leaves the youngsters behind under the watchful eye of a guardian. In the Carpathians, pack territory can range anywhere from 30 to 115 square miles. The wolves use scent to mark this enormous boundary. The alpha pair repeatedly stop to urinate on the trail, leaving behind their distinct calling card. Their urine and scat communicates everything from their sex to their reproductive status. As they reach the edges of their territory, they stop more frequently and loudly announce their arrival. A mysterious sound that has installed fear and inspired legends for centuries. It's a clear warning. Stay away, this is our home. Howling also reinforces strong social bonds. A rally call to bring packs together or stay in contact when they're apart. Their howls can carry for around 10 miles. With the day's patrol done, the pack heads back to find their pups. They've shown they're a united front and not to be messed with. Accepting the presence of wolves has far-reaching benefits. They're at the very top of the food chain and are an essential force for keeping red deer numbers in check. The deer are abundant in the Carpathians and are a favourite prey of wolves. In the summer, the stags hang together in temporary bachelor groups, while the females stay in their own herds, raising young. Wherever they roam, they graze on the leaves and shoots of saplings and tree branches. But without wolves to hunt them, negative effects would ripple through the forest. The deer population would grow out of control, resulting in serious tree damage. A healthy forest needs a healthy predator. Wolves share these mountains with the most widely distributed predator in the world. A red fox, primed to seize any opportunity. The secret to its success lies in its resourcefulness. He's a hunter, scavenger, and forager. He can adapt his diet to almost any environment or season. A capable predator who will kill small mammals and birds. This woodpecker's nest hole is high up and out of reach. However hard he tries. But some birds nest on the ground. And he struck lucky. An unattended nest means a free meal. He gently picks an egg up. It's a valuable prize packed with protein. A feast fit for a crafty fox. But instead of eating it now, he's going to save this one and all the others for later. He carries them away one by one and buries them. Hiding them now means he'll have a store of food to call on in leaner times. If he thinks he's been seen, he'll dig up his stash and bury it somewhere else. But for now, his secret is safe. To find his buried treasure again, he'll rely on scent and a memory map of the area. His brain contains a special kind of grid cell. These cells have distance measuring capabilities and provide a kind of internal positioning system, much like a GPS. But if foxes aren't kept in check, their hunting habits can have a significant toll on birds, small mammals, and even amphibians. Every predator roaming these mountains is essential in helping to keep the natural balance. Lynx will kill foxes, which helps keep foxes in check. Foxes also tend to stay out of wolf territory, which prevents foxes from expanding their range too much. This in turn protects small prey species from being decimated. Change is in the air. With the arrival of autumn, temperatures begin to cool and the days become shorter. The forest undergoes a spectacular transformation. As the production of green chlorophyll slows down, the leaves on trees start to change colour. Yellow and orange pigments become visible. Finally, a layer of cork-like cells forms across the base of the leaf stalks, which causes them to start shedding. The seasonal fall in leaves accompanies the release of seeds, among them acorns, chestnuts, and beech nuts. This autumn bounty is a welcome, energy-packed bonus before the arrival of winter. On the forest floor below, wild boar and bison sweep up the crop. Their new source of food also attracts Europe's largest carnivore. A brown bear on the hunt for a feast before he begins his winter hibernation. As the weather cools down, the fire salamander searches out a place to hibernate for the winter. He's loyal to his home range and will return to the same spot every year, guided by familiar sights and smells. His overwinter spot must be humid. Instead of drinking, he absorbs moisture from the air around him through his skin. He can't generate his own internal body heat, so his hideaway needs to be sheltered from the worst of the cold to come. The deep crevices of a rocky outcrop are the ideal spot in the damp forest. To avoid the worst of the snow and ice. For the red deer, the change of season marks the start of the annual rut. This stag is on patrol and is primed for action. Over the summer months, he's bulked up, living peacefully with other stags. But with autumn's arrival, that changes. This isn't his season to feed, but to fight. He's in his prime and has the antlers to prove it. Every spring, red deer stags shed their antlers and regrow them over the summer. His crowning glory is the result of a surge of testosterone over the last few months. Now, his antlers have stopped growing and have calcified, making them formidable weapons. He's picked up the scent of a herd of females, called hinds, close by. He's ready for battle to win the right to mate. His chilling roar, called a bugle, can be heard up to a mile away. The females are attracted to the strongest males with the loudest bellows. This stag increases his allure by wallowing and rolling in his own urine, which helps bring the females into estrus. With a flood of hormones coursing through his body, he's prepared to fight to the death to secure his very own harem. The males assemble in a gathering called a lek, each trying to claim their own territory. They constantly assess competitors for their size and strength. In an elaborate display, some stags adorn their antlers with foliage. He begins to round up some hinds, never letting down his guard. Takes his eyes off the prize, an opponent may seize the chance to try and steal them. Tensions are running high. And then a challenger steps in. He's refusing to back down. Only stags of a similar size will actually fight it out. And these two are equally matched. Each stag tries to gain the advantage by staying uphill. He seizes the high ground and chases off his competitor. He's won the exclusive mating rights with his harem. Over the breeding season, this stag will continue to defend his hinds against other males. With all of their attention turned to the rut, stags have little time to feed. It's so stressful, they can lose 20 to 30% of their body weight. The abundance of red deer has provided the wolf pack with a much-needed meal. An adult can eat as much as 20 pounds in one sitting. Their pups are now nearly 7 months old and almost fully grown. They join their parents on the kill. Close by, the subordinates wait their turn. Only after they've had their fill is the rest of the pack allowed to join in. With excitement running high, competitive displays of dominance are frequent at a kill. As the family tucks in, they challenge each other through a range of facial expressions. Curled lips, bared teeth, and ears jutting out horizontally all mean, back off, this is mine. As the pups mature, they'll have to assert themselves on a kill and vie for their place at the table, just like the rest of the family. The pups will stay with their pack until they're 2 to 3 years old, helping the alphas to hunt and raise the next generation of younger siblings. As they disperse, the sons often move on before the daughters. They'll travel vast distances to find other wolves with which to form a pack, and some will even become alphas and start a family of their own. In the Carpathians, all predators and their prey have a vital role to play, maintaining the healthy balance of life in these ancient forests. On an increasingly crowded continent, these wild mountains provide a refuge like no other, and a sliver of Europe as it once was.